Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the marketing updates on the Costa del Sol. And for that we have with us again Alfredo. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what is happening on the Costa del Sol, the real estate part of it, the development. How is it going? What do we expect prices to do and much more? So let's start at the beginning. One of the things I hear sometimes from my clients like, is this the good time to buy? What do you think? What are prices going to do? What has it been doing the last months or years?
You ask any agent when's the right time to buy, and they will say today, or they might get funny and say yesterday, and the next best time is today.
Yeah.
The prices are not going down. So the prices are rising by more than inflation.
Yeah.
So if you'd have bought a property a year ago, it would have cost you less than the same property would cost you right now. If you want to take prices, it varies from area to area. The Costa del Sol it can change from one street to the next. But you could say quite comfortably that last year the prices went up by about 10% across the board. And if you were to take 2025, you're probably going to look about 5% to 10%, depending on where you're looking. So prices are going to continue going up. They're not going out of control. So you do have to wait 6 months to make your purchase. It's not going to bankrupt you, but they're not going to go down anytime soon.
Now, what would you say, for example, to a client who said, wow, I've seen a nice villa, but it's a little bit out of my budget. I need to save or work a little bit harder for 1 or 2 years to be able to afford it. Do you think he's going to save enough money to cover all the inflations in a normal situation?
No, and chances are that if the villa is priced correctly, it will probably be
It will
gone
be
in a
gone.
month.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have that villa anymore anyway. The only way that would be true is if you got an amazing job that paid you 10 times more and the villa was overpriced and you didn't mind paying more. Then yes.
Like with that in mind, if say for example I'm thinking of buying a property here in the Costa del Sol because the market is very hot, the prices are increasing, I'm not really intending to use it a lot, maybe 3-4 weeks a year, thinking of renting it out in the other remaining time. How do you see that? Is it viable? Is it possible with all the regulatory changes that are coming? What would your advice be?
The advice would be to have an agent that you can trust that will do a little bit of basic due diligence in
Yeah.
terms of being aware whether you can rent them out, where it is that you're buying. Typically, this is more complicated. You have to do more due diligence if that's on an apartment in a community versus a villa that's independent, because the community of owners can have a say on that, and that is changing. And rather than relying just on the agent, because their job isn't to do legal due diligence, is get a local lawyer and make sure that part of their due diligence process is to tell you if there's any reason to think that you won't be able to get a tourist license, because the Spanish government has been imposing heavy restrictions over the last 12 months in both national level, regional level, provincial level, municipal level, and community level.
Well,
And each one is interpreting things differently because the regulations have been changing almost on a monthly basis. So that does it. So the answer is yes, you can, probably,
yeah.
but you need to make sure that your lawyer checks it out. And the sort of thing you want to be looking at is there currently a prohibition in the community that you're looking to buy in, if it's an apartment block, for example? Is there someone currently in place within the municipality with in some cases they're applying limits to how many
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to issue, so they're currently issuing new ones. And even to the degree of saying, is there does the property itself, will it comply with the regulations required or the steps required to get a tourist license, because you will require a tourist license. So there's a lot of steps. The good news is you don't need to know all those things, but you do need to work with an agent and a lawyer who can find them out for you.
So the most important thing is get a good team, get
Yes.
people trustworthy. And I think one of the very important things is as well, maybe to put it in a contract. Listen, if you're selling me something that I can get a tourism license on, let's make it part of the contract. I'll buy this subject to.
Yeah.
It's a very easy
Yeah.
thing. You say it is, put your money where your mouth is, and let's add it into a
For sure.
contract.
The one thing to say, just to be straight, is there's nothing to stop the town hall a year afterwards starting restricting things. Generally, you ask 10 lawyers, you hear 10 different stories. So
Yes.
big asterisk to what I'm about to say. Generally, it's accepted that if you already have the license, it's unlikely that they'll
they
take it
will
off you.
revoke
They'll
it.
just stop new ones being
Yeah.
applied. But that is not to say that they can't change their mind about that. So just bear that in mind. It's not foolproof, but it's likely that you'll be okay.
Nothing in life is foolproof.
Nothing.
It's as easy as that. Okay, well, let's go on to a little bit other stuff. What we see a lot is people looking for properties, and the good clients that we're in touch with, some of them just also send us the direct properties that they've seen on Idealista or on a new build site or whatever. How do you, well, not only how do you tell your clients, point one, it doesn't benefit him, but what is the difference for a client if, say, he goes straight to a selling agent directly to their own listing, or if he walks in straight to the office of a new build? Is it better for them? Is it cheaper for them? Do they get better service? Is it any little bit on that?
It's not better for them. The person who's selling their house can only sell their house. If you are more interested in next door, they're not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
The developer can only sell their own developments. So there's a development 10 minutes down the road that fits your needs better. They cannot sell you that.
And he won't tell you.
And he won't tell you that. So it makes absolute no sense to go direct, first of all. So an agent for sure, because they would just give you what's the best option for you rather than what's the best option for them.
The majority.
But that's the fact, is that there's something next door that meets your needs better, then they have no reason not to tell you, as long as they have your best interest at heart. In terms of the price, which is a very interesting one, the price is the price. Generally speaking, on the Costa del Sol, the only reason you're going to see the same listing at 5 different prices is because 5 different agents haven't updated their prices.
Yeah.
And it's counterintuitive. In anything else in life, you find the cheapest price and you go there. In this case, the cheapest price is the agent that has been the least good at keeping up with the pricing. Tells you a story about how good they are.
Yeah.
The highest price is the most up-to-date one.
It's the one who's been updating the system.
And because the developers rely on agents collaborating with them, they cannot be seen to be offering a cheaper price direct.
Yeah.
They might throw a basket of fruit on the table for you if you buy with them, but the price is the price. So that's not to say you can't negotiate prices with a seller if you're looking to buy, but the price advertised, if you see it different prices in different agencies, my suggestion would be to do the counterproductive thing and go for the highest one.
For the highest one.
Because that's likely to be the agent that's the most on top of it.
That's interesting. Say, for example, we're talking about now, let's go to the highest price one. And I'm looking everywhere. Is there any difference, for example, in pricing? Say, for example, I want to sell the new build. Doesn't matter where you go, because it might be more expensive again on Idealista. It might be more expensive on different property portals than it is with the agent direct, or is that not how it works here?
That's not how it works. The price is the price.
Yeah.
The answer is very simple. Find an agent that you feel you can trust, that you identify with and understands your needs, and showing signs that understands your needs and is asking you the right questions, and then they will find what's the best thing for you. But the price is the price.
The price is the price. And then we come a little bit to the part, because you say an agent is very important. How do you choose the right agent? What is one of the things you would consider, for example? Take it, you're the client looking for an agent. What is it you're looking for in an agent? What is important?
I think you would find out in the first conversation whether the red flags are there, that they're listening to what you're saying and they're not telling you what you would need to, what they think you want to hear. Okay, so the thing that's important is that they have a track record, that they've been doing this for a while. They might be the best agent in the future, but if they've been doing it 10 minutes, it's impossible for them to be able to understand everything that goes on in this marketplace. Yeah. So a track record, that they know the area that you're interested in, because they might have a listing that's way out of their area of knowledge. Yeah. In which case, they won't necessarily have so much local knowledge. And I don't mean down to like neighborhood level, but I just mean if you got a small agency from Torremolinos and you're inquiring about Soto Grande,
might not be the right.
You'd only stick with them if there was everything else was just so good that you had to. You know, like maybe they'd sold you a house in Torremolinos once or something like that. Okay, so but the number one thing you're looking for is trust, a sense of trust, a sense that they're listening to you, and you'll find that out when you first speak to them. Their first communication with you, when they send you the information that you've asked for, that will tell you a lot. Have they been listening to you? I need to be near the beach. Why are you sending me a mountain listing?
I have a 200,000 euro budget and you sent me a 5 million euro villa.
So that really is the number one thing. Now, easier said than done, but you can check them out on socials. You can see what they're talking about, what they're about. If there's videos of where they're in, you'll be able to listen to them and see, okay, this is the kind of person I like to deal with. Yeah. Really, it's that. It's you're looking for someone that you can identify with and that you feel that you can trust them. Trust is the number one thing.
Yeah. And for example, I know in a lot of different European countries, for example, you need to be a licensed agent to even to sell properties. We ourselves are licensed with the GIPE and SIPE within Europe. Is this something that's mandatory? Can everybody just become an agent? Can I land tomorrow on Malaga airport and they say, wow, I'm going to be a real estate agent, even they have no knowledge, no nothing?
That's the issue for the buyers, is anybody can be an agent. And in effect, the gardener, if he gets a hot lead, he could literally sell a 10 million euro villa in La Zagaleta.
Yeah.
And by collaborating with the listing agent. So there's zero barrier to entry at the moment. They're looking at implementing something. They're hoping to do it this year that will at least filter out the bottom layer of it. But that's why what we were just saying a minute ago, that it's so important, is that they have a bit of a track record here and that they know what they're talking about. They shouldn't know less about the area that you're inquiring about than you do, because they're there.
Yeah.
So no, there isn't any requirement for anybody to be licensed here at the moment.
No. And if we're talking, for example, area and price increase, etc., you said you expect to do it between 5 and 10% in the Costa del Sol, but it depends very much as well on area. And it can literally be the street next door booming up and down. What makes a big difference in this? Is it because the house in Street A is much better than the house in Street B? Is it a hype that's being created? Is it what is the big difference in there?
I mean, it starts with there being a demand for the area, and then it comes straight into basic supply demand. If the demand is higher than the supply, the prices go up more than in the place where there's enough supply to feed that demand.
And if we talk, for example, communities, how is the community, the quality of the community, the prices of everything within the community, the monthly cost, does that affect the price very big? Is it only a smart portion of it?
Depends. It depends, doesn't it? I mean, you hear of, for example, community fees of 100 euros, which is what I pay, and community fees of 5,000 in some places in Marbella, right?
But with the 5,000, you attract, of course, a completely different
it's a completely
crowd.
different
You
thing.
get where we're sitting now. I know the community of owners here. You pay 500 euros, but a couple of years ago, this was only 200 euros.
Yeah, and where we're sitting now, what's the price of a property? But not anybody can see this, but it's what, 500,000, something like that?
Well, not even.
No, 400,000?
Between 350, 400,000.
Okay, and we're about, just, no, not that anybody would know, but we're about 300 meters away from the Viability and a 5-star hotel that Michelle Obama stayed in.
Yep.
You've got villas for sale nearby for 20 million.
For 20 million, we've got the beach at a kilometer and a half. We're at one of the most highlighted areas probably in the Costa del Sol, Los Flamingos.
Yes.
But even though, for example, that I know the complex next door had a huge price increase, this complex didn't have that because the community fees went all over the top. The community maintenance had been an issue for some time, and things like this, even though as an owner you cannot do anything against it, it does affect the price of your unit.
Of course it does, and that's another sign of whether you've picked the right agent or not.
Yeah.
They should be able to answer that question like you just have. I can't answer. I'm not an agent. I don't know why this place is cheaper than that place or not. It's a basic supply and demand, and within the supply and demand balance, then what creates the demand is the qualities and the value proposition, the build quality, the common areas, the access, all those sort of things. So that's basic economics. But why this one and the one next door have completely different prices isn't dictated as much by the address as it is by a whole bunch of other factors that only an agent will be able to tell you.
And now we're talking about areas a little bit. What would be the area for yourself? What do you think is one of the go-to areas? Because that's always what clients like to hear. Ooh, I want to buy something, but it needs to have a good upside, or it needs to be very in demand in the next coming years. What is one or two areas that you would say, keep an eye on that, that's going to be very interesting in a couple of years?
I mean, anywhere around the core golden triangle of Marbella, Estepona, and Benahavis. So west, east, and inland.
Yeah.
The likeliness as those are becoming oversaturated and the prices are going up and they're restricting how many licenses. Eventually, I think Estepona will restrict how many licenses they issue. I think that's coming. Marbella, they can't because it's still under the old urban plan. Benaviste, soon they're going to run out of land to start building there. They issued so many licenses. So with that, things go either side of
More
it.
scarce.
But then from Marbella east, you then have Mijas Costa, which is also very, very active.
Yeah.
So then the next natural places are in what I would call the old Costa del Sol, which would be the Fuengirola, Benalmádena, and then inland to Alaurín and places like that. And to Torremolinos, near towards the airport area in Malaga.
Los Alamos, Las Lagunas, for example.
Exactly, because you start to get the boom that you have in Malaga. It's going to sort of do the same principle. It's going to come either side.
Yeah.
And this side of Malaga is better infrastructure than the other side. So it makes sense that
to come more this way.
Yeah. So I think the periphery. That's the thing.
The whole area is still.
I mean, everything's going well. There are some pockets of value still in the slightly older areas for opportunities for redevelopment, for refurbishing. All the villas that you can get at really great locations that need some work doing to them, and that's the area you work in, isn't it?
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. On the inland, what we see there is a lot of price increase. Where, say, 3-4 years ago, you could buy a nice finca for 300,000 euros. At this point, if you're going to be looking everything under 450, it's probably a complete reform. I was looking for myself, at least my wife is looking, and everything she sends me up to 500,000-600,000 euros. Okay, you get a very nice detached villa, your own private pool, garage, 4 or 5 bedrooms, and everything. But where you would be buying that for 400,000-500,000 euros a couple of years ago, especially pre-COVID, you'll be paying 500,000-700,000 euros for exactly the same. And what we'll see is the people who are coming to that area is changing.
Yes.
Well, first it was some Brits, some Dutch, some Belgian. Now we see Canadian, American, more Dutch, less English. It's completely changing, but that inland area is changing very fast. I mean, a town like Alaurín el Grande, it's 27,000 people living there. It's a typical Spanish town. The policeman won't speak English, for example, and the baker can say hello, and that's it. It's amazing, and it's changing so fast, and you'll see it. 25% of that town, for example, is already an expat. And yeah, you'll see more and more people coming from the coast to the inland, and that brings a lot of positive changes through everything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for redevelopment in some of the older parts of the Costa del Sol. If you go from Marbella towards Malaga, and you go from Marbella towards Gibraltar, that's unspoilt sort of territory. Really, we have Manilva and around there. There's a lot going on over there. Up and down, it's if you want to be near the airport, you're probably better from this side on the Malaga side of the coast of Marbella. If you're not bothered about airport stuff and you're looking to relocate, then it depends on amenities and things like that. But the old Costa del Sol, as I call it,
until
that is where all the amenities are, which is
and
a big difference between buying there and buying in Manilva.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I hear a lot. Like people, but Estepona, Casares, Manilva, that's gonna be the new hotspot, and they might be right, but I think it's still gonna take 20 to 30 years before it actually is, because we can put down a lot of apartments, but that doesn't mean the infrastructure is going to change. And one of the things we already see now towards Marbella is the infrastructure isn't always ideal. The roads, there is a lot of talk about changing, and the whole train and everything. And I think the new Golden Mile, I think towards Manilva, with the expansion that is going to be coming there, you're going to get the same problems.
Yeah, I think I've heard a rumor that this just a rumor, but I've heard a rumor that the mayor of Estepona is going to stop issuing as many licenses.
Oh wow!
And because you can't do it in Marbella, that means you got to leapfrog it and jump across.
And then you're going
way out. And like you say, that's not for everybody. It is for some people, but the infrastructure isn't great. One of the things that's affecting the infrastructure more in this market is that since COVID, there's been a massive rise in people relocating here and commuting back to wherever their home country is. So kind of like turning a secondary residence to a primary residence, or at least a blurring of the lines in between the two. And that puts year-round pressure on the infrastructure.
Much higher.
We're used to the Costa del Sol having the winter months to recover and for the roads to get fixed and to take a breath of air. Now there's traffic jams now in February in places in Marbella.
I remember normally in outside summer season, if I came to Marbella, I needed to go to Banús. Yeah, you're going to have a traffic jam, and the San Pedro is going to be a little bit busy. It's all year round now. So it's good that they're working on it, but and this is one of the things I'm afraid of for the Manilva area, etc. It will get probably the same. And then again, a lot of people are coming for a holiday home, a quick weekend. You're going to be flying in Malaga. Do you still want to travel an hour and 15 minutes by car to go somewhere that you've got an amazing apartment, but hardly any facilities?
And if you are relocating and you got kids that need to go to school, you get the same issue, right?
Yeah.
There's not that many private schools to choose from,
No.
whereas on this side of the coast there is. So I think old Costa del Sol will beat new Costa del Sol in terms of the trend.
Look at what's happening in, for example, Torremolinos. They have put major work on improving, reforming, modernizing. They're doing works now in Benalmádena at the marina to upgrade it again, and that's what you see more and more and more in those areas, that they try to uplift. Yeah, they've got the high-rise buildings. It's from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. That won't change.
No.
But the quality of the services, the shops, the boulevards, and everything, you see a major upcoming in that. And I think, especially with the expansion, for example, of Malaga, that the whole Torremolinos area is going to be very, very fun to watch in the next coming years.
I agree. Torremolinos is bizarre because it's the origin of the Costa del Sol tourism thing, and it's old. But the strange thing about it, and this tells you a lot about the market, the prices have held. So the town, a lot of the stuff's super old and not that nice. Yet the prices are stayed really high, which shows a high demand.
Yep.
So I think that's one to watch.
Perfect, Alfredo. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Pleasure.